Hi, this is JJ at CCBC. In this video, we'll look at how to save an image using Photoshop. The major topics we'll cover are the Save or Save As feature, as well as the Save for Web feature. The software I'm using in this video is Adobe Photoshop Creative Suite version 6 on a Mac. So let's take a look at this. Here I have an image in Photoshop. It is my collage that I've created for the free transform video. I have an image that's divided up into several layers. So the first thing I need to do is save this as a Photoshop document or a PSD file. So to do that, I'll just say File, Save As. And here in my Save As window, in case you're not familiar with Macs, if your window opens like this, you don't have a lot of options. I like to spread the window out so I can navigate where I'm saving things to. I'm going to save to the desktop. You notice I already have it saved as a PSD file, so I'm just showing you how I created that. Up here you give it a name, and down here you choose your file format. So you'll notice Photoshop supports a lot of different file formats. We just want the very first option, Photoshop, which will save it as a Photoshop document or a PSD file. So I just hit save. I'm going to overwrite my old one, and now I've saved it. The nice thing about the PSD file, it preserves all of the layers, so it allows you to come back and make edits later. The bad thing about a PSD file is it's an enormous file size because it has a lot of extra data. That's how it preserves the individual layers. So it's not useful for actual insertion into your multimedia project. Usually you need a different file type to use in your project. So let's look at some different file types we can use. We can use the Save As feature and open this up, and we can save as a JPEG or a PNG directly if we really want to. So if I clicked JPEG, it would give me, I hit save, and it'll give me some JPEG options in terms of image quality. I would just save the highest image quality I could and go with that. And I'm not going to save this right now. Actually, I will, and let's take a look at it. So we'll save it on the desktop. Let's open up that JPEG. So here on my desktop I have my Photoshop document version, which is already open with multiple layers. If I open the JPEG version, you'll notice it's all been compressed into a single layer. So I can no longer go in here and move my sign further down the road or make edits without affecting the whole image. So it's been flattened into one layer. So that's kind of a weakness of the JPEG format, but the strength is it's now a much smaller file size than the PSD file I was working with, and I can put that JPEG into my image or into my multimedia project. I could do the same for a PNG. So we'll switch to PNG, save that. Gives me some PNG options. I'll just use the defaults, and let's open that up. So here's that PNG file I just created, and just like the JPEG, it's been flattened into one layer. So again, we lose the ability to edit, but we have the strength of a smaller file size that we can now use in our multimedia project. Another way that you can save this image, and again I'm back to my original PSD, and you can tell because the layers are still intact, is to save for web. And this is something we'll do very frequently with multimedia. A lot of times we're delivering for the web, and this is a nice feature for comparing your saving options in web-based formats. So the first thing to notice is the file format options. GIF, JPEG, PNG, and a Windows bitmap. Now we're not going to use the WBMP. We use PNG, JPEG, and GIF pretty frequently. So you can select any of these and it'll give you options relative to the image type that you're using. What I really like is this 4-up panel display. Now by default it might just show the original. And remember I talked about an indexed color palette for GIFs. Here's that color palette it has indexed in order to render this image. I can go to an optimized or a 2-up display where I can set 2 different properties here. So, or I can switch to a 4-up display where I can set multiple different properties. And the nice thing is it gives me information about each version of this image. If I was to switch to, say, a JPEG format, you'll notice here I've got the GIF format. I can see it's going to be 139K. Down here I have the JPEG format. I can see it's going to be 117K. So this is a much smaller file size, and I can visually compare the two. Visually, I don't see much of a difference in terms of image quality or loss of quality between the two, so I can safely use the smaller file size. So this is one more way to compare different types. I could go over here and set up a PNG just to compare that. So here's my PNG. You'll notice the PNG is 307. It's a much higher file size, but quality-wise, not much different than the JPEG. So if I had a choice between PNG, which was 307K, and a JPEG that's 117K, that's a no-brainer. I'd easily pick this JPEG format and save it as such. So once you've determined what format you want to use, you can click the Save button, and then you have the same options as before. You basically give it a name, find a location, hit Save, and you've saved your image. I'm going to cancel out of this because I've already saved it. And that's it. So you have your Save or Save As option to directly save an image, or you can use the Save for Web feature, which allows you to see the 2-up or the 4-up panel and compare different formats and what the visual quality of the image will look like, as well as the file size that you're going to save the image as. Hope you learned something. See you in the next video.